From AATH, the Association for Applied and Therapeutic Humor, this is Laughbox, the podcast for laughter and humor professionals. Here's your host, Chip Lutz.
Let's get ready to rumble! It's time for Laughbox! Man, I am so stoked to share this week's interview with you. Man, what I love about this association is that you get to meet so many cool people. Kind of humor icons, people that I hold up on a pedestal, and that is my guest this week. I get to talk to my good friend Allen Klein. He's been on the podcast before, but this week we're talking about his new book, so I know you're really going to enjoy it. Now, you can meet Allen and other cool people just like him if you come to the conference. When's the conference, you ask? Well, it is the 4th through the 7th of April, right outside Chicago, the Windy City. If you live in the Midwest, easy to get to. If you don't live in the Midwest, still easy to get to. Heck, shoot me an email. I'll come pick you up at the airport. So make sure you go to AATH.org and check it out. Now, let's get on and let's get to talking to Allen. Well, hello, friends, and welcome to Laughbox, the official podcast of the Association for Applied and Therapeutic Humor. And today, it's just a really cool day for me because within AATH, you get to meet a lot of really neat people. But the person I get to interview today, I hold in pretty high esteem. In that, when I was working on my master's and I read his book, The Healing Power of Humor, really changed my perspective of a lot of things. And then when I joined the association, I got to meet him, and now I'd consider us friends, and not the kind of friend I'd ask for money from, but certainly I'd ask for advice. I get to talk to Allen Klein. Welcome, Allen, to the podcast.
Thank you. And how do you know I'd give you money?
That's why I wouldn't ask. I don't want to live in that world where it's like.
I would give you money, of course. If you needed it, I would give it to you. But you don't need it. You're so rich and famous yourself now that you don't need the money.
I think you've got me confused with somebody else. But now I know you pretty well. I mean, we've been on a cruise together. We've eaten dinner together. We've drinking vodka together. But for my listeners, if you could just give them, a little bit of background on who this man, Allen Klein, is.
Well, I am the world's only jollytologist. And I actually invented that word, and then since then, there's a humorologist, a happyologist, an enthusiologist. But I'm the world's only jollytologist, kind of like proctologist, but in humor.
I got a whole different visual on that one now.
Okay. Well, good thing we're not on video here. Mm-hmm. So I got into humor because my wife passed away at 34, had a rare liver disease since she was 31, and had a great sense of humor. Mm-hmm. And we can get into that a little more as we talk about my new book. But I found that humor helped me so much to get through that difficult time and through my grief. And so I gave a business I had in San Francisco. I went back to school to learn about therapeutic humor, and got a master's degree in human, HUMAN development, but my thesis was The Healing Power of Humor, which became my first book, although the writing was different than my thesis.
Right.
So I've been doing this stuff for over, 25 years. Still doing it. Happy to do it. Keeps me going.
Yeah.
And I love doing it. Love meeting people in the humor world, helping people, getting incredible feedback. How humor has helped people going through major difficult difficulties in their life. And so, I teach it, speak all over the world about it. Although now I'm doing more writing than speaking, and so I have 2 books coming out this year. One of them we'll talk about today, Embracing Life After Loss. And that book shows people how to go from loss to laughter in 5 different, what I call 5 different stages.
Right. And hopefully we'll have time to delve a little bit into each one of those stages. Before we get into our conversation, I'm just going to ask you just a random question just to get our conversation going. So they are making a movie, the Allen Klein story. What actor would you want to play you?
Oh, Chip Lutz, of course. No. It's so funny you ask that, because every now and then that question comes up, actually. And I think, well, who would play my daughter? Who would play my wife?
Mm-hmm.
Who would play me is a little harder. Maybe I'm too close to me. Who would play me? Robert Redford's way too old. I don't know. You have any thoughts?
Oh, I have no idea. I was, thinking that maybe Bradley Cooper would be a good start for the young
Actually, his name, when you said that, it came up for me too.
Yeah, he'd play the young Allen Klein,
He'll have to lose all his hair, though. Because I was bald since high school. So,
well, you see, if he's a method actor, he'll do it. See, so he'll dig deep and get into it. Now you've put out, gosh, it seems like, how many books have you written? You've got a whole list.
Well, Embracing Life After Loss is actually number 27.
Wow.
Now, some of that, to be totally honest here, are revamps of books that went out of print.
Mm-hmm.
And they have new publishers, new look, new introduction, sometimes new material in them.
Okay.
But if you talk about titles, there's 27 titles published.
All right. And your first one, Healing Power of Humor, how long? That's been out for almost what?
Yeah, I think I've heard of that one.
Oh, yeah, but it's been,
okay, 1989, that was
okay.
published.
Wow.
So how many years? My math is terrible. That's a long.
So you're coming out, it's like a 30-year anniversary this year.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, wow.
It's time to celebrate. 30 years of making a difference. That's awesome.
How could that be when I'm only 29?
It's a miracle.
No, I'm very proud of that book. It's, God knows, it's selling, sold over, approaching 60,000 copies, and has been translated into 9 different foreign languages.
Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing.
That's still going strong. It's amazing when I look at Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
It's like still up there, sometimes 12 or number 10 in humor books.
That is amazing. And that, like I said, it changed a lot of my perspectives on things, and it was even cooler when I got to meet you in person. So let's delve into your new book, Embracing Life After Loss. Because I think anytime, even for somebody like you that's put 27 books together, each book it's kind of a labor of love. You're doing it for a reason. What was the catalyst for you putting this whole book together?
Making money. It would be nice. So I guess this book goes back to when my wife was seriously ill, terminal illness, and we dealt with that for 3 years. After she died, Chip, I would look to grief books for comfort.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would find is, first of all, they were huge. They were 200 to 300 pages, very dense. They would tell me how terrible I'm going to feel during my grief, that I may lose my appetite, I might not sleep, I might be depressed for a while. And so actually years later, I thought, those books never helped me.
Right.
They were awful. When I'm grieving, I'd want something that would lift me up, that would encourage me, that was easy to read, that I could just open to almost any place in the book and get some encouraging words, inspiring words for that day.
Right.
And so when I thought about that, I thought, there was no book that I could find on the market that was like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when I put together this book, and I wanted to show people, because, on the world's only jollytologist, how even loss, we can start to grow through loss and eventually start living again and laughing again.
Right.
And so that's why this book has the 5 stages of first losing, realizing you've lost someone you love, and then learning from that experience. Because I think death can be our greatest teacher, how to live more fully.
Right.
And then the 3rd step is letting go, because you got to let go to move on. Otherwise, you get stuck in whatever it is, your grief or your anger, whatever it is, you get stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally start to live again, to look for things that bring you joy and happiness, and then eventually to start laughing again.
And going back to what you said before on it being a book that was a little more uplifting, when I was reading it, that's exactly what I got from it, is that, each page I was reading is like, something, a little nugget I could take from that, and thinking about, things that I wish this had been around when my dad passed. It was just, because I went through, all these things, and, I think all of us, some of us are a little more resilient, and depending on the loss that you're dealing with, it might be a little more heavy than, other losses. But I think that you hit the mark on making it something people can actually use, versus them reading it and saying, yeah, I am feeling crappy. This isn't doing anything for me.
Right. And that's what I wanted. And I also wanted it simple. It's why the subtitle is called A Gentle Guide for Growing Through Grief. Because I didn't want it complicated. Grief is complicated enough in itself.
Right.
I just wanted it simple, and I wanted people to realize they don't have to get stuck in there, that it's a difficult time in their life, hard time, but that it could also help them grow, maybe become more loving, more caring, more empathetic, realize more about their life, that they need to get on with their life and accomplish what they want to in their life. So it's a way, it could be a lesson on how to grow.
Well, and I think a lesson on how to live. I mean, I love the way you started out the book, with the story about, your cousin Bernice, and, when, you were a little kid and she would fly, and, you'd ask her if, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me here, on, wasn't she ever afraid her plane would crash? And she said, well, hopefully on the way back, because I don't want to miss a moment of my vacation. I thought about that when I read it. I was like, what a great way to look at life, is to grasp, every moment you can.
She lived her life that way. It's like every moment was precious. And she, like she would get on a plane coming back from vacation. She'd land at 6 a.m. that she can go and change her clothes and go right to work. Mm-hmm. Rather than coming in like the night before to sleep in her own bed, just so that she wouldn't miss a day of that precious vacation. And she lived her life that way all the time. So at a funeral, it was sad, but it was a lesson on how I could live my life and enjoy every moment.
Well, I took that from it as well. I was just like, man, I wish I would have known Bernice.
Yeah. Oh, you would have loved her. Full of life. Just full of life. Yeah.
Yeah. Those people they're always great to be around, and they just fill the room with so much life.
Yeah. And I think it was her mom too that taught her kids that. Mm-hmm. My Aunt Jessie, she was really a character. She, In fact, I don't know, you probably don't remember, you're too young, Truth or Consequences with Ralph Edwards.
Yeah, I remember Truth or Consequences.
Well, she was in the audience once, and she got called on stage to do this number, whatever they called it. And there were like 5 men and 5 women. And the thing was, the women had to take the men's shirt off as quickly as possible, and that would be the winner. And so what she did, she just grabbed the guy's shirt and just ripped it off him. And got the audience so hysterical, and some of her offbeat comments, the audience was just laughing their heads off. So after the show, they came to her and said, "Ma'am, how would you like to travel with us and be a plant in the audience and come on stage, during the show to get the audience laughing?" That's how funny she was. She couldn't do it because she was raising 2 kids by herself, but that's the kind of humor she had. And Bernice once told me that she lives by her mom's, I guess, motto or rule of the day, or whatever you want to call it. But that is, my Aunt Jessie told my cousin Bernice that she needs to make at least one person happy every single day.
Wow.
And that's what Bernice did, more than one person usually, every single day.
That's a great strategy for each day. That is a great strategy.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't mind, can we delve a little bit into the different steps you have for the in the book, or the stages, and just hit a couple of the highlights of each one that you think. I mean, they're all really good, but some that you think are maybe like the like some of the keys of that particular stage.
Right.
Like
step 1 or stage 1, losing, that we need to realize that we can't live forever.
Right.
That everyone that's born dies, and the Bible even said, there's a time to live and a time to die. So it's part of life. As Woody Allen once said, birth is a fatal disease. So that's all part of life, and I think we need to realize that. And one of the things, because I recently had this experience, is that, and one of the little chapters here is when you least expect them. And I'm talking about tears there, because tears happen a lot when you're grieving. We can talk about later, tears and laughter are very close, but tears happen, and that's okay. It's a way of healing. It's actually a way of getting toxins out. There's a lot of toxins in tears. But I had an experience not too long ago. I was doing a book signing, and I went into the bookstore, and there was a woman at the counter sobbing her head off, just sobbing away. And I asked the person behind the counter, "Why is she crying?" And they said, "Well, her husband died the other day. She came into our store to get a book on grief, and the clerk was very curt with her and got her upset. And she came back to tell the owner that, and just started sobbing again, and wasn't stopping. And I was there to check out my AV to do a book signing the next day. And so I went up to her and I said, "I used to be a hospice volunteer. Would you like to talk about what's going on?" And we sat in the corner and we chatted for quite a while. And I told her, when my wife died, tears would just come up at any time. I never knew when. So like I was walking to work and I would pass the Bank of America building in San Francisco, and I would start to cry. And I had no idea why. There was no connection between Ellen, my wife, and Bank of America. So I comforted her and I said, maybe, you can go and get into a grief support group, might help you. And I finally calmed her down. But, things happen when we lose someone, and it's all part of the process.
Right.
And so we need to realize that it's part of the process, and the things are going to happen, but that we can eventually get through them.
And we'll be right back with that interview with Allen, but now it's time for Fun Facts. Fun Facts is where I share facts about humor, laughter, sometimes the absurd, but this week it is about laughter. And this week's fact is, humans laughed before they spoke. This is from ReadersDigest.com. It says scientists believed that laughter was used as a way for humans to relate to one another millions of years before they developed the lung strength for language. The mechanism of laughter is so ingrained in our brains that babies as young as 17 days old have been observed doing it. So how about that? Yeah, I love a laughing baby. I am a laughing baby. So you got a fun fact you want to share? Shoot me an email at chip@unconventionalleader.com. I'd love to hear from you. Now, let's get back to Allen.
Yeah, I remember reading that in your book on your Bank of America story, and it made me think of here just how a few weeks ago I was in church and we were singing this song. It was a song that we would sing in church when I was growing up, and my dad would be next to me, and it wasn't my dad's favorite song. However, when he would sing it, because it had such a strange melody line, he would have to change octaves all the time. And all of a sudden I was like, I had this like swell of emotion. I started crying. It's like, I didn't cry. I mean, when he passed a few years ago, but not since then, really. And it was just, it was just an interesting, that's what made me think of, is that sometimes, those waves come back and you just never know when they're going to come.
Exactly. The other thing about losing is to realize, as I said a moment ago, death is part of life.
Yes.
And just imagine, Chip, if no one ever died, what this world would be like. There would be not enough food, not enough places to live, not enough energy to support everyone.
No parking places.
No parking places. It's a little hard to imagine, but in a way, this may sound a little crass, but death is kind of like nature's vacuum cleaner. It's like making space for other people to come in the world. Right.
And that's a good way to look at it. And I also like in your book when you were talking about, when you're remembering that person, a part of them really it remains around. It remains, or it doesn't go away. I mean, I liked that, because a lot of times we think of loss as being so final, but we keep their memory alive. We share their stories with other people. A piece of that person stays around.
Yeah. In fact, to address that, I'd like to read a short little wise words here from the poet Gibran.
Oh, absolutely.
Who said, "The lights of stars that were extinguished ages ago still reach us. So it is with great men who died centuries ago," and here I think he could be talking about your loved one too, "but still reach us with the radiation of their personalities." So that person is still around. They're still with us. I remember when I did my very first humor workshop. It was at the school I was teaching at, Holistic Life University. And it was a 3-hour program. I put it together. I'd never done a humor workshop before. And I looked I looked up, and there in the corner of the room was somebody that looked exactly like my deceased wife. Mm-hmm. And I kind of was taken back. I stopped for a moment. I was shocked, and I thought, well, I can't go over to her now. I'm in the middle of this workshop. But when there's a break, I'll go over and chat with her, because this is really amazing. Mm-hmm. And so I started to go over at the break, and somebody tapped me on the shoulder to ask a question. I turned around, and when I turned back, the woman was gone and never came back after the break. Mm-hmm. And I thought, this was my wife telling me that what I'm doing to honor her actually was okay, and then I needed to continue doing it, because I almost failed speech in college. I was not a natural speaker. To become a professional speaker for 25 years after almost failing speech in college is kind of weird. But
that's funny.
But there, was a sign to me. I believe in signs, and this was a sign that everything's okay, mm-hmm. that I'm honoring her spirit by doing this work, and that she's still around to support me, and she'll be there forever.
Now, with that kind of realization, with the realization of loss and the acceptance of loss, with that, I assume that helps you move into, the next stage of, actually learning.
Right. And the thing about this past Sunday, I did a talk at Unity, which is a spiritual center, and I talked about divine order,
Mm-hmm.
divine presence, that we are, even though most of us don't know it, and I believe a lot of people listening may not, but that we are guided. I was guided to do the humor work.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, I almost failed speech in college, and yet here I am, professional speaker.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked the audience, how many of you have experienced some dark time in your life? And nearly everyone, I think everyone in the audience raised their hand.
Mm-hmm.
And then I asked them, how many of you in hindsight have found that dark experience, you either found some positive in it, or you learned something about it or yourself, or has changed you as a person dramatically? And again, I think everyone in the audience raised their hand. So we don't know why things happen to us, but in hindsight, we can look back and often we see the reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so I bring that up because it's like realizing during the loss that this could be a time when I will grow through it, and I can learn through this experience.
Right. And I like it in your book how, you had a little excerpt in there about finding that meaning. And you quoted some work from Viktor Frankl, because I'm a big Viktor Frankl fan. So I was like, yeah, I love that. Go Allen.
Yeah. So Viktor Frankl, concentration camp, and survived that. And he talks about using a little bit of humor every day. But basically, his underlying thing was attitude.
Right.
That we control our own attitude no matter what. I did a whole weekend retreat with burn survivors, and it was a hard thing for me to accept that gig, because I thought, how am I going to work with these people with hardly any face or no hands, or how am I going to do that? And what could I tell them about lightening up? They've been through the dramatic, painful experience.
Right.
And yet they showed me during the weekend joy, so much joy. I mean, this one black man got up and didn't say anything all weekend. In the last process we did on Sunday, he got up and he did a rap song and dance.
Wow.
And it was just so joyful. So they taught me about using lightening up even in the darkest of times.
That is amazing. And I would have the same kind of ideas in my head going into this if I was doing a workshop like that. And so it's amazing. It's kind of neat that sometimes, when you're in a teaching mode, you get taught.
Oh yeah. Oh, and they taught me about unconditional love. I mean, one man taking care of this, probably a man in his mid-20s or early 30s, totally burnt.
Mm-hmm.
And how his partner was just so caring and loving and mopping his brow, or taking the blanket on or off, or adjusting the pillow, or timing the medication, or giving him water, and
mm-hmm.
just amazing unconditional love. So they taught me so much that weekend. It was a highlight of my career.
The highlight. That's amazing. Especially in a career as long as yours.
I guess one of, but certainly near the top of the list.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah. Now, shifting into the further stages, do you think that like the next stage on letting go and living and then learning to laugh, do you think that on the letting go part, that for me, some of that, there might be a little bit of fear on people's part on actually kind of letting go of their grief, that in an essence, by letting go of that, maybe they're letting the person down, or, how do you work through that?
Well, when I was a hospice volunteer, I would ask people about their loss and the person they lost,
Mm-hmm.
and how they'd want that person that had died, how they think that person would want the survivor to live.
Mm-hmm.
And nearly every time they said they'd want the survivor to be happy and joyous and live their life to the fullest. And so the way to do that, you can't do that if you're holding on to the loss. I remember working with one young woman, probably in her 30s. Her mother died. And for 2 years, she was just so down, so upset about it. And I realized, the light bulb went off on me that what I saw was 2 people were lost. One, the mother who died, and the daughter whose life had kind of totally stopped.
Right.
And so at some point, we could still mourn that person, but we got to let go. We got to, maybe the tears will come from time to time, but we've got to move on with our life. And I think, people say, well, how do you let go of that? I think a couple of things. One is forgiving yourself for maybe not doing the most you could do, for not keeping that person alive, if that's the case. Forgiving yourself, forgiving others for maybe not being around for you. But forgiving. And the other is to be grateful for what you do have instead of for what you don't have.
Right.
So be grateful that you're still alive, that maybe you have a great job, a place to live, children, another spouse, friends, whatever it is. Just be grateful for that. A great teacher of mine once said, to want what you don't have is to waste what you do have.
Wow. You're just just chock full of great nuggets today. That's awesome. Oh, I really liked when I was reading through and I was reading the chapters on forgiveness. I like that you put on there forgiving yourself, and maybe sometimes forgiving yourself for the things that you didn't say to that person, as far as appreciating them when they were there. Because I see that so much with people that I wish I would have told them this. I wish I would have said that. I wish I would have done this. Is that what's done is done. You can't live back there. I mean, you've got to forgive yourself for that. I mean, most of the time they knew how you felt. They knew that you loved them.
Right. You can't, you do the best you can, and it was not in your power to keep that person alive. So you need to forgive her. You can't move on if you're carrying that around with you.
Yeah,
I love what
absolutely.
Ann Landers said, and I have this quote in the book. Hanging on to resentment is letting someone you despise live rent-free in your mind.
True statement right there. Absolutely.
So, you need to let go. Yeah. Otherwise, you're stuck in that down, depressed, upsetting mode.
Right. So how do you get on with living then?
Well, I think the other thing is to rejoice in the person's life that had lived, rather than keep mourning it. And I love what the Talmud said, which is one of the Jewish books of learning.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I can find that, I thought it was right here. And it is not. So, I have the wrong page. No wonder. There it is. So, this is under the section, Rejoice in a Life Lived. When a child is born, all rejoice. When someone dies, all weep. But it makes just as much sense, if not more, to rejoice at the end of life as at the beginning. For no one can tell what events await a newborn child, but when a mortal dies, he has successfully completed a journey.
Wow.
So celebrate life.
Absolutely.
When I die, by the way, just so you know, Chip, I want everyone to have bubbles, because I love bubbles, and to blow bubbles.
I will. Is it BYOB? Is it bring your own bubbles?
and brandy.
Bring your own bubbles and brandy.
Bubbles and brandy. I love it.
I can see the Facebook invites. Come to Allen's Bubbles and Brandy.
Right.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
Living, stage 4, living. We've gone through losing, learning, letting go, and we're up to living.
Yes.
So when my wife died, one of the little sections I hear is get out of the house, because, and what I mean by that is when people are grieving, maybe they're depressed, they don't want to see anyone, they don't want to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the ways to start putting grief behind them is to start doing things again. And so when my wife died, I said to my daughter, who was 10 at the time, 10 and a half, that we need an adventure, that we've been through a very difficult time for 3 years. And so I booked an inland passage cruise through Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
And we slept overnight on a glacier, and we saw puffins, and we did white water rafting, and we took a 2-seater plane and landed on a lake in the middle of nowhere.
Wow.
And it was such an incredible, I hadn't planned this, but it bonded us. It helped us talk about my wife and her mother.
Mm-hmm.
We still do. We talk about the puffins in Alaska. And it was one of the greatest things intuitively that I did after my wife died, to help my daughter and I kind of put that little behind us and start enjoying life again.
And I love the analogy you had in your book with the seashells, that you had those seashells in the closet, and that, from being in the closet, they, had kind of lost their luster from when you had first gotten them. And that, sometimes it's the same with us. We need to get out to kind of keep our luster.
Right. Yeah. On the beach, they were gleaming and shiny. And then in the jar, they kind of lost all that. So yeah, get out of the house, do things you love, start a list of things that bring you pleasure and start to do that.
Now, looking at the last stage on, laughing again, I like how you kind of started out with the whole concept of, how can I laugh at a time like this? And, a lot of times people have such a negative connotation or negative view of, laughing, during the grieving process. And, I like that you have it on there that, I think it's important for our overall growth through the process.
Well, often people feel guilty, that like they're dishonoring their loved one, but I think it's kind of the opposite. You're showing your loved one that you're getting on with your life. And the other thing in fact, I think it should be, how can you not laugh at a time like this? Because
right.
As you know, Chip, laughter is such a great healing tool and physical benefits from it. You get more air in your lungs, and sometimes when you're grieving, you're like shallow breathing, and this would be heavier breathing. It's a great tension release, and when you're grieving, you're really tense sometimes. So there's so many physical benefits that laughter can provide at this really, what I think is an important time to use laughter, and hardly anybody talks about that.
Right. Thinking about that, what are some strategies people can use to actually add a little more laughter in their life, when they're, trying to push through to the other side?
So one is just look for the humor around you. I'm not a great big fan of jokes, although I did end this book with some jokes because I felt that people, I wanted to oil the mechanism and get people started. So there are some, but I think I like to see the humor that's all around. And of course, if you're grieving, you may not see that, but it is truly there. Or get a friend, I call it a humor buddy, that you can call every day, or send a cartoon via email. There's so much humor. If you're on the internet, there's so much humor there, on Facebook or Gigglebox, or just look for it. funny movies that you can rent or go out with a friend, make a date to go to a funny movie. And, my favorite, is a clown nose, a red clown nose, because you put that on, you look in the mirror, and even if you don't laugh, you might smile because you look that way. And that's just the first step, I think, on the road to laughter.
I agree. Well, I tell you what, Mr. Klein, it is always such a joy talking to you. I like I said, I hold you like in such high esteem. Now, after today, people are looking to get this book, because I think we'll be able to put this out before the release date of the book. Where do they go, and where do you want them to connect with you?
Okay, so they can go on Amazon. They can get the book, hard copy of it, or it's in Kindle. They can get it that way on Amazon. They can connect with me on my website, which is www.allenklein.com. Just make sure they spell it right, ALLENKLEIN.com.
All right. Now, I added a new section to the show here a few episodes ago that I like to end with, called the Fast Five, where I just ask you 5 questions, and you just give me your first response. Are you ready, Mr. Klein?
I am ready.
All right. First question. Allen Klein, who's your favorite comedian?
Rita Rudner.
Really? Oh, that's
I didn't know you're supposed to comment on.
Oh no, it's just a good one. It's like not one that I think about, but she is really good. So that's awesome, and it makes me want to go on YouTube and look for some Rita Rudner.
She is great and clean, by the way, clean.
All right, second question. What's your go-to funny movie?
Oh, Sleeper.
Oh, that is a good one. All right,
yeah, go ahead.
What's your favorite kind of?
Woody Allen these days is not politically correct, but I still like Sleeper.
Good movie. What's your favorite kind of comedy?
Oh, slapstick.
Really? Okay. Well, it's neat. Well, because I like these questions because I get a little insights into the comedic mind of Allen Klein.
Silly. I guess silly, not just slap, but kind of silly humor.
All right, you and I are stranded in an airport. What do we talk about?
We talk about the people passing by. We make up stories about them.
That's one of my favorite things. I hope we get stuck in an airport. All right. Now, knowing that, my last question is usually, what's your favorite joke? But knowing that you don't like jokes, what's your funny situation? Because I know you like situational, stories.
I'll tell you my favorite joke.
Okay, great.
So these animals were out in the field. You might like this because we're Wisconsin with lots of cows and stuff. So the sheep says to the cow, "Moo," and the cow says, "Why are you saying moo? You're sheep. You're supposed to say ba." And the sheep says, "Yeah, but I'm learning a foreign language."
I like that one. Nice.
Not
Very good.
Laughter, but I could remember it.
Yeah, I like it. No, I've heard that one before. It's a good one. Well, again, thanks so much for spending a little time with me today. Like I said, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you. It is fabulous, and I appreciate your asking me to do this, Chuck.
What I tell you, Allen Klein is the MAN man. Love that guy. So much great information. It's so genuine. I'm going to encourage you to connect with Allen. I'm going to tell you to go and order his book. Now, you can get it early, pre-order it. You can wait till it comes out in the middle of March, or you can get it a little bit earlier. I'm going to suggest you get it now. Get it pre-ordered so it comes and you are ready to read it. You got something you want to share on the show? Shoot me an email, chip@unconventionalleader.com. And yes, you need to get registered for the conference. It is not too late. A little less than a month until it's time. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. So until next time, this is Chip Lutz saying, we'll keep the laugh on for you.
This is Laughbox, the podcast for laughter and humor professionals. Laughbox is made possible by a grant from the National Speakers Foundation and is brought to you by AATH, the Association for Applied and Therapeutic Humor. Find out more at AATH.org. Be sure to review Laughbox on iTunes. For show notes and more information about today's conversation, visit laughbox.aath.org.